Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2023 John Deere DFS Tactics Show. That's right, we are here for all of your last minute lineup questions. We will have an updated forecast, all of the top pivots, the best fades, all of that. Looking forward to a fun show and an interactive show. So let's get right into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from fantasynational.com. It is simply the best tool out there for your money. Going to make you a much smarter golf gambler and a much better golf DFS player. Go check them out. It is simply well worth your investment. In the description to the video, there are links to all of the social media. This is my Twitter and Instagram, where I posted research around the previous winners of the John Deere Classic going back to 2012. So if you would like to see prior research that I do every week on the PGA Tour, then give me a follow at your preferred social media site. Twitter is also where I place my betting cards for the PGA Tour every week. That will be no different. It'll be out tonight after the DFS Tactics show. So if you want to see the weekly wagers that I make for the PGA Tour, give me a follow there. And then Twitter is also where I do my baseball content, which came back yesterday. Nothing today since I've been deep into the DFS for the John Deere, but it came back yesterday for July 4th. A fairly successful day. All three of the up players, or players that I thought would accrue their value, certainly did so. So a successful return there. If you would like to see quick hitting baseball content, give me a follow over at Twitter. 3 players that I think will accrue their value for the day and 3 players that I don't. And then finally, for social media, Gabe's Twitter is also in the description. He writes a very good article called The Fringe. Consider giving him a follow over on Twitter and subscribing to his article. Since it is Wednesday night, I will be over in his Substack chat after my show this evening, and the only way you will be able to participate is if you subscribe to his article. So if you would like to continue the DFS discussion after the show this evening, then make sure to give Gabe a follow and subscribe to his weekly article called The Fringe, and join us over there for more DFS discussion. And then finally, for the intro, we're live, chat's open. What questions do you all have? What players are you considering between or debating between putting in your lineups? Who are your pivots? Who are your fades? Do you have any 6K plays? All of the good stuff for the DFS. So let's figure out our strategies and our tactics for the 2023 John Deere. And we're going to start, as we always do, on a Wednesday evening with the updated Wind Finder forecast. And again, I will reiterate that in the Midwest, things can change pretty frequently. So just because this is what the forecast is now, the next update may change that, and that'll be in a couple of hours. If you have the ability, make sure you set an alarm tomorrow morning to check the final forecast before play starts. But looking at the most up to the minute forecast for Silvis, Illinois, we have some pretty strong wind gusts tomorrow morning. Now, supposedly, they are getting some pretty good rainfall at the moment. I am not in Silvis, Illinois, so I can't tell you, but my guess is that they are getting an amount of rainfall right now, or at least are supposedly getting some, which will soften the course up. It's going to make it fairly chilly, maybe not in the morning, but it's definitely a cold front, as the high was supposedly 91 today, and the high tomorrow won't reach 80. So definitely a cold front, a weather system coming through. If they are indeed getting this rain right now and the winds stay as it is, you would normally think that the PM would have the favor tomorrow. I'm going to tell you, I see this as fairly even with the wind gusts, because the course will probably dry out throughout the day, making it firmer. Although it is supposed to be cloudy, no rain, so it'll dry out. the wind I don't think is going to be too much of a big factor tomorrow. I understand if you want to give a slight favor to the Thursday PM portion right now, considering Friday looks spectacular. High of 80, no wind whatsoever at all in the forecast for Friday. I understand if you want to give a slight favor for Thursday PM. I'm not going to, because the difficult winds or the difficult gusty winds probably negate the fact that they're going to have some soft conditions if indeed this rain is happening. So I see this as fairly even. Feel free to disagree and put it in chat what you think and how you feel about it. But I'm not really factoring in too much of a favorable draw or anything like that. If I'm making a tough decision, I'll probably lean towards the Thursday PM player, all other things being equal. But I am not going to avoid anybody if they are playing tomorrow morning. So there's a look at the forecast for Thursday and Friday. If we zoom out, look at the weekend, we won't have the super forecast, but much the same. Perhaps some wind early on Saturday, but then Saturday afternoon and Sunday look fantastic for golf. So there's a look at the forecast for Silvis, Illinois, and the John Deere Classic at the moment. I'm not factoring it into any modicum of degree into my player pool. If I have tough decisions, I'll probably lean towards the Thursday PM players, but I'm not eliminating anybody if they are playing tomorrow morning. So with that, we'll move to Fantasy National, and not really a whole lot to do in terms of recap. We've talked all week how there's not an architect filter to use. This is a D.A. Wavering design. The course is right smack dab in the middle of the boundaries, playing right at 7,300 yards. So really the only thing we have is scoring easy to par. And there are generally a few rounds that play average here at TPC Deere Run. Generally about one a year. So not every round on average will be easy, but for the most part, your winning scores do get into minus 20, minus 21 areas in that range. So still a fairly easy course and tournament, generally speaking. Good evening, Pete. Thanks for jumping in chat. Hope your week has went well. You're ready for the John Deere, which is, I guess, semi-close to you. I know you're on the opposite end of the state, but at least a similar or same state tournament. But hopefully things have went well. You are ready to have a successful John Deere week of wagers and DFS contests. So as a quick review, your top players in the past 18 months are in rounds that have been easy. 5 hours, Quad Cities, yeah. So we are in Silvis, Illinois, on the Iowa border, and that is about the extent of my knowledge of that area of the country. That's about it. But yes, we're out in the middle of the Midwest. But for a quick recap, your top performers, total performers, when a round has been easy in the past 18 months have been Seamus Power, Russell Henley, Taylor Moore, Alex Smalley, Taylor Montgomery, Eric Cole, JT Poston, Matt Kuchar, Ryan Palmer, and Mark Hubbard. Those are your top 10. Scroll down a little bit, you can see about the top 30 here or so. Continuing on down, Tyler Duncan, Grayson Sigg, Stephen Yeager, Akshay Bhatia, Adam Hadwin, Patrick Rogers. There's your top 15 or 16 or so. And this reminds me, before I forget, 2 more field changes since Monday evening's show. 2 more withdrawals. Luke List and Brian Gay have withdrawn. So that brings the total number of players not in the field from when the field was posted to 7. Webb Simpson, Charlie Hoffman, Vincent Norman, C.T. Pan, Brandon Wu, Luke List, and Brian Gay. So if you filled out lineups early this week, make sure you go and check them. Make sure none of those 7 players are in your lineups. They have withdrawn. There's a look at your top players when a round has been easy. The other side of the spectrum, players who have not played well when a round has been easy in the past 18 months. Max McGreevy, Jonas Blixt, Andrew Landry, Ryan Brim, Brian Stewart, D.A. Points, Wierenski, Nick Watney, Brandon Matthews, Wesley Bryan, Sung Kang, and on down the list here. So here's your players that have not played well when a round has been easy. But that is the only review that we are going to cover this evening, since that is the only filter that was prominent for this week. Again, no architect, no course length, just easy relative to par. So let's go ahead and jump into my mixed condition model. And we covered the mixed condition model that I did for the John Deere last year, and it was not a very good results-based mixed condition model. 9 of my top 20 had missed the cut, but I did have some decent, very unique plays. Matthias Schwab was in the top, finished in the top 20 at 2.5% ownership. CT Pan, players of that like. And the only saving grace from this tournament last year, coincidentally, is the last win ticket I had, JT Poston. So, for this year's mixed condition model, I talked all week how I think off the tee is going to be a big factor. Not just fairways, but distance as well. And we saw that especially in Microsoft Excel Monday night, how the winners, none of the top 15 that finished top 15 at the John Deere last year lost strokes off the tee. It is just a big factor. I still feel this is a ball striking course, even though you have wedges in your hand for most of the second shots. There's still approaches. It's not around the green. So a lot of emphasis on the ball striking. I did use the easy to par filter on off the tee. So players like Ben On, who generally are pretty high in distance when it's easy, and then drop when that filter is not applied. So the reason using the easy to par filter, the fairways are easy to hit, distance is generally higher than the average tour event. You will have some forced layup holes, but driver is in your hand. For these professionals, driver is in your hand quite a bit here at TPC Deere Run. So I want to see who hits fairways and who has the distance. I just want to see who is good off the tee when it's easy to par, and that's 15% of the model. 10% in strokes gained approach. Last year I had 15%. This year I dropped it to 10. Over the years, the past 4 editions of the John Deere, the top 30 have gradually decreased in strokes gained approach importance, or its significance to the players that finish in the top 30 has declined each of the previous 4 editions. So I'm backing off the approach a little bit, coinciding with the off the tee that has risen the past 4 editions. So only 10% in strokes gained approach, but still the emphasis is on ball striking this week. 10% in putting on bent surfaces. I did not use the speed filter. If I were to use it, it would be fast speed greens, but looking Monday evening and a little bit of Sunday at the historic conditions, there were quite a few rounds of average, or classified as average speed for the TPC, or for the John Deere at TPC Deere Run, and I can see that happening again, especially if the rain isn't happening in Silvis, Illinois right now. If it is dry, they will have to put a lot of water on that course to keep it playable. So I I just wanted to see the top putters on bent surfaces, and 10% there. 15% birdies are better gained when a round's easy. Again, the same metric and filter from last week at the Rocket Mortgage. I did drop the percentage because this isn't as much of a birdie fest as the Rocket Mortgage, but this is still an easy tournament. Players are going to have to go low. You're going to have to get your birdies in bunches for the John Deere. So 15% birdies are better gained when it's easy. I ended up succumbing, however you want to phrase it. I did use something from the driving page view in Fantasy National. I decided to go with good drives gained. And the reason behind using this metric is that I wanted to put the majority of the emphasis in off the tee, absolutely. And I've done that. And since fairways and distance both mattered, what we do know about the John Deere is that the rough is long. These fairways are extremely easy to hit, but if you do miss the fairway, the rough is difficult to play out of. It's long. So if a player does miss the fairway, I want to see who can hit the green still from the rough. And that's what this good drives gained statistic is for. A good drive gained, defined by Fantasy National, is a player who has hit the fairway or who still hits the green in regulation from the rough. And I use the filter long rough because TPC Deere Run generally has long rough. So 5% in that metric. I'm not extremely confident in it, but the more I thought about it, the more I felt like it was the statistic or the metric to use from that page view. 5% in par threes. I started Sunday this week thinking that the par threes might be something, and throughout the week they have just lost their importance. Looking at the data, looking at the previous leaderboards, I still think you're going to have some factor of par threes in here, but they're only at 5%, and I wouldn't blame you if you drop them. I don't think it's correct to do so, but I wouldn't blame you if you did. These are the easiest par threes on tour, statistically. So if there isn't much to be gained from these par threes. 10% in all par fours, 15% in par fours, 400 to 450. I talked seemingly ad nauseum Monday evening about the importance of the 400 to 450 par fours and how they are such a big factor. I started to think about looking at the 450 to 500 by themselves. Decided not to, just stuck with the rest of the par fours at 10% because there are two that measure from 350 to 400. There is one that's over 500 yards. So there are plenty of other par fours on the course other than the most prominent and most important length. But I wanted to really emphasize this length of par fours, as that is where players are generally made or broke here at the John Deere. And along those similar lines, all three par fives measured to this length on the scorecard. Now they will move into the 500 to 550, but for the majority of the par fives, for the majority of the week, they're going to fall into this range. So I just wanted to see who plays this range of par fives the best. And that is at 15%. You have to score on these par fives, not unlike what we saw at the Rocket Mortgage last week. Par fives are just really important. Even though there's only 3 of them, they're still your best opportunities on or at TPC Deere Run to get potential eagles, definitely birdies. So you got to score on them. So there's a look at my mixed condition model. I spent all week talking about how I don't think around the green is going to be a big factor. If it happens to be one, I'm going to be very weak to that. Other potential weaknesses, perhaps the putting is a bit heavy. I can see where 5% would be optimal. These greens aren't difficult to read, as how I understand it. So I can understand if you want to perhaps decrease the percentage in putting. That could be a potential weakness. If any potential part of the off the tee, whether it's the fairways or the distance, matters more, I think both are going to. So that's why I put the emphasis on off the tee. If there's a specific or another range of par fours that matter, I could be a little weak. But those are some of the potential weaknesses of the mixed condition model. Otherwise, I feel pretty darn confident with it. The good drives gained is a little bit of a tangent or a stretch, but hopefully my explanation made sense on why it's included. Good evening, Stephen. Thanks for jumping in chat. Do you have an outright bet this week? I do. I always post my betting cards to Twitter after the DFS Tactics show. So if you have not followed me over there, I ask that you consider doing so. I will absolutely place my betting cards, or I place my betting card after the show on Wednesday evenings. I had Luke List as one of my wagers at 80-1. He is withdrawn, but that gives you an idea on the type of players that I am keyed in on this week, as I firmly believe this is a ball striking course. Now, the second shots are generally wedges, so they're shorter approach shots, but they're still approaches. You're not around the green here. So I have a pretty high emphasis in off the tee and ball striking in general, and then bent putters. But Luke List was one of the wagers, so I've gotten that wager voided. I've got 3 other wins, I believe, including a 150-1 long shot. So be on the lookout for that. So there's the mixed condition model for the week, and some potential weaknesses or downfalls if the tournament plays differently than what I am thinking. With that, we're going to move to Microsoft Excel, the reveal of my top 10, and before I do that, I will preface this by saying there is one player, and it'll be very, very obvious when I reveal the top 10 who the player is I'm referring to. They are being skyrocketed in the rankings due to a very small sample size. Good evening, Joey. Thanks for jumping in chat. Hopefully your week has went well and you are ready for some success at the John Deere Classic. So before you riot and throw out every expletive imaginable to me about my rankings, I wanted to preface that there is a very small sample size player that really skyrocketed because he's played well in few rounds. But enough of the tease, if you will. The reveal of my top 10 this week for the John Deere. My number 1 player is Taylor Moore. Chris Kirk, number 2. Peter Quest, number 3. Russell Henley and Emiliano Grillo round out my top 5. Patrick Rogers, Nick Taylor, Cameron Young, Mark Hubbard, and Akshay Bhatia round out my top 10. So it's probably very obvious who I was referring to. You see, he is number 1 by the analytics of the mixed condition model. It is a very, very small sample size. Having said that, he did top 5 the Rocket Mortgage last week. He's also top 15 the Byron Nelson earlier in May, which is a very easy event. He has played very well in 3 events this year. He's played very well in his most recent 3 events. He's 3 for 4 this season on the PGA Tour in making cuts. Tied for 4th last week at the Rocket Mortgage. T57 at the Charles Schwab, maybe? I can double check if anyone's interested. But he also tied for 14th at the Byron Nelson. And then missed the cut earlier in the year, I believe, at the Valspar. So again, very small sample size, but his metrics are outstanding for the statistics that we gathered. So I wanted to clarify that. What I rank Peter Quest 3rd in this field this week? No, I wouldn't. Am I going to use him? Probably. It's hard to ignore some of the metrics that he has. But let's talk about the top 10, shall we? And as a quick reminder, or for your information if you're a new viewer, the way I do my rankings, the FNGC rank is a purely by the numbers ranking system taken straight from Fantasy National. No wind or anything, just straight on the metrics that we just talked about for the mixed condition model. Percent owned, I always factor into my rankings as well. We are obviously wanting to find unique players, so I factor in percent owned. The more unique, the better. Course value is an attempt, and it is not a perfect science by any means, but it's an attempt to give a player a value or to rate them on how well they have played that course the previous 5 years. And again, the smaller the number, the better. Players that don't have a value, Peter Quest, Cameron Young, Akshay Bhatia, they haven't played the course in the past 5 years. All three of these get weighted different amounts and then are calculated to a value that comes out as such. So again, just a reminder on how I do my rankings. I don't factor in any wind, perceived favorable draws. I do that on my own when I do my lineups off stream or whatever. But there's my top 10. Taylor Moore, number one player. I can't disagree with it. Look, the guy has played very, very well lately. Goes extremely low when it's easy. Very good off the tee when it's easy as well. The performance on these short par fours are pretty good. Honestly, he has one bad statistic. It's the par threes, and I've got him at 5%. I don't think they mattered all that much here at TPC Deere Run. I really like Taylor Moore this week. Number 2 in all of par fours. Hits plenty of fairways. If he does miss the fairway, he recovers enough. Good on bent for what it's worth as well. Really like Taylor Moore. Chris Kirk, no surprise, he's one of the more popular players. Russell Henley, the second or third projected owned player this week. Again, no surprise. I have no qualms with that. We talked quite a bit about Peter Quest. Milano Grillo, look, 55th is his worst statistic here. It's just going to rate out well for him. Even the putter has been more cooperative for him. It generally comes down to the putter for him. He's quite a bit owned. Patrick Rogers always rates out well, but his irons haven't been all that great, so a little concerned with that one. But, par fives, especially the length here at the John Deere, very, very good. The shorter par fours, very good. He goes low when it's easy as well. Cameron Young, little surprised that he was 8th in this pretty weak field, but he hasn't been playing all that well. He just hasn't been. I figured he would rise quite a bit just because of the heavy emphasis I have in off the tee. He is certainly getting hurt by the putting and good drives gained. He's gotten wayward sometimes. He's gotten wayward. So a little bit of cause for concern there in that regard for Cam Young. But as we go through the price boards, you'll see that I'll be firing up plenty of Cam Young. Mark Hubbard, probably pretty popular, although he has struggled the past couple of weeks, especially at tournaments. You would think he'd play well. Bhatia, again, just like Cameron Young, it's really about the putter for Bhatia, but he's not getting much love. Just to really emphasize the point on Peter Quest, you see top 15 in 2 of the most important metrics that I factored in the mixed condition model this week. Damn near top 20 at par 5s, which you have to take advantage of here. He's also been good on bent. Again, very small sample size. I understand that. So take it, a little bit with a grain of salt, but he's been very good on bent. 59th is his worst statistic here, and that's good drives gained. He's been good at par threes. So, at least by the metrics, Peter Quest has really, really played well and matches up well for TPC Deere Run. All right, enough babbling about the way I see the top 10 or my rankings. Let's sort on the price board, figure out where our top pivots and our fades are going to come this week with seemingly a whole lot of chalk at certain areas of the price board. All right, in the 5 digits this week, in the 10Ks. Ooh, my camera went out of focus. Hopefully we're good. In the 5 digits, we have 4 players: Denny McCarthy, Russell Henley, Ludwig Aberg, and Cameron Young. You see the 2 players that are getting a whole lot of attention and 2 players that aren't. And I'm going to be honest with you, for the life of me, I do not understand why these 2 players... Okay, I can understand why Cameron Young isn't, because he's not been in great form. I don't understand why Ludwig Aberg is only at 9%. At least per the members at Fantasy National. Perhaps you see some different ownerships. I'm just going straight from Fantasy National. I don't understand why he's only at 9%. This feels like it suits Ludwig Aberg's game fantastic. Top 5 in off the tee, especially when it's easy. He goes plenty low. Perhaps the shorter par 4s aren't his forte, but top 10 in par 5s in this field. Really, it's all about the putter, and you can say that for a lot of players. Look at the other look at 2 of the other 3 players in the 10Ks. Throw out McCarthy. He's just arguably the best putter on the PGA Tour. So you can say the same thing for any of these guys about putting. So I don't understand why Ludwig Aberg is only at 9%. I like Cameron Young. Granted, he's not been in as good a form as you might have thought coming off a fantastic rookie season. We covered him in the top 10. Second in birdies are better when it's easy. Second at 400, 450 par 4s. I don't see any reason why he won't like or enjoy TPC Deere Run. McCarthy and Henley are going to be very popular. I like Russell Henley of the 2 if you're going to choose to play the chalk. Look, Denny McCarthy has played very, very well this year. The irons have been vastly improved, and that's what it took for him to take the next step in the PGA Tour. The next step is going to win, and I'm sure he's going to win soon. But I've got some concerns here. He doesn't exactly go low when it's easy. He can with the putter, sure. But Denny McCarthy really is at his best when pars are good scores because that putter can save him. He's also not been the best off the tee, especially when it's easy. He doesn't have a lot of length. He has enough to contend, especially with the putter, but he doesn't have a lot of length. And you look at some of these other players, especially Aberg and Cameron Young and some other players we'll talk about in the 9Ks that have the distance and hit more fairways than Denny McCarthy does. So I've got a little bit of concern with McCarthy, and I think it's a worthwhile fade. You're going to gain a lot more fading McCarthy than you will by using him if you're correct on your stance. I said that last week about Ricky Fowler, and it bit me. Ricky Fowler won the tournament. But I still stick to the game theory mindset in that you're going to be gaining a whole lot on your fellow contestants if you're willing to be bold and take a chance on a couple of guys. I like Russell Henley a lot this week. This is chalk I'm not going to be able to get away from. I can get away from some Denny McCarthy. So in the 10Ks, look, all things, if they're as they are here, I think I have to make Ludwig Aberg the number 1 player in the 10Ks. The ownership, you're at half the ownership of McCarthy and Henley. He's in great form. I don't understand why Aberg's only at 9%. I have to imagine he's going to be more popular than this. But even if he's 12%, you're still not approaching the Henley and McCarthy levels. I really like Aberg. I think this sets up well for him. By the metrics, Cameron Young should be good. But I am so confident in Russell Henley. I'm going to make Russell Henley second, even with the ownership and the prohibitive ownership. So I'll go Aberg, Henley, Cameron Young third, and Denny McCarthy fourth in the 5 digits. Moving into the 9Ks, Hadwin, Cole, Keith Mitchell, Adam Schenk, Taylor Moore, Chris Kirk, Emiliano Grillo, Seamus Power, and JT Poston. This is where a lot of our fellow contestants are gravitating. In fact, only 3 players really not getting any attention, and 2 of them I kind of like. Good evening, Bruce. Haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. Hopefully things have went well. You've had some success and are ready for a positive John Deere as we head overseas for the Scottish and Open Championship. Those top 2 guys probably going to be 22 plus. Owen Young will get we just got through talking about that. I really like Ludwig Aberg. Look, Russell Henley, I don't see any reason why I don't think he plays well. This is chalk I will not be able to get away from. But I'm comfortable, I think, moving away from Denny McCarthy for these 2 reasons that I talked about quite a bit. But thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. And any other questions or comments that you all have, feel free. I will try to interject and intermingle those comments and such as we go through the price board. But moving into the 9s, look, anytime Adam Hadwin is chalky, I'm a little concerned. He can lay some duds with the best of them. He's not the best off the tee. Clearly his worst metric, his next worst is 48th. Oh, passed it. 48th. Good putter on bent. The irons have been good. I get it. But this is more about the ownership than the player. I just don't like 16.5 on an Adam Hadwin. Same, I don't really like 19% on Eric Cole. I understand that he's been playing fantastic. A lot of outright wagers I've seen placed on Eric Cole. And if I'm going with Eric Cole, I think I would choose that would be my exposure to him. Look, 19% is a whole lot. That's the 4th most projected owned player. Might be 3rd now. Looks like Schenk has dropped a little bit. Henley and Schenk were 1 and 2 for quite a while. I believe it was Henley that was approaching 20, at least per Fantasy National. Schenk was really close to that. So Eric Cole, 3rd most projected owned player. Look, off the tee, especially when it's easy, has not been good. Now, if you're not scared of that, then use a whole lot of him, because after that, 8th in birdies or better when it's easy. He's 12th in these shortish par 5s, 12th in these shortish par 4s, 11th in these par 5s, 7th in irons, 6th on bent greens, and 5th on par 4s. There's a lot to like there, but that off the tee game can be bad. And with as much ownership as he has, and as much emphasis as I've put in off the tee, this is one where I might have to stick to my analysis, and if Eric Cole plays well, I'll lose. And I've already talked how I'm going to be using Russell Henley. I can't use every player and every chalky play. I think I might be fading Eric Cole. Keith Mitchell, I would like a whole lot more if this were difficult. But you see, he generally does not enjoy birdie fests. He is a lot like Denny McCarthy in the sense that he is a grinder. He, fights out his pars. And really, the irons haven't been good for him either. So, not crazy about Keith Mitchell. Adam Schenk, very, very popular. Probably some more chalk that I won't be able to get away from. Having said that, if I'm choosing between Russell Henley and Adam Schenk, I'm going to go with Russell Henley. clearly 4th in my rankings versus 20th. I mean, 20th's not bad by any means, but I would go with Russell Henley over Adam Schenk if I had to choose. But this is still some chalk I'll probably have some exposure to. He's been playing a whole lot better than some of these metrics say, especially this off the tee. He's been much better off the tee as of late. The par 5s, he's been really good. So, yeah. If I was confused about Aberg and Cameron Young, I am dumbfounded by Taylor Moore and his ownership at projected 10.5. My number 1 player in my rankings, number 2 analytically, top 20 and off the tee, top 5 in birdies or better. The only bad stat we looked at, he's bad in par 3s. I don't know how much they matter. He's going to have to be a little bit better on the par 5s, sure, but still top 30 on bent greens. We've talked how par 4s are extremely important. He's number 2 in those with Chris Kirk. I don't understand why Taylor Moore is at 10.5%. If he is indeed at 10.5%, I'm going to have way too much exposure to Taylor Moore. I'm already going to have too much exposure. But if he's indeed at 10.5%, I'm going to be skipping down the street and hoping that he continues his hot play. Because that's pretty unique on a player that is in pretty good form. Chris Kirk, more chalk I will eat. I would be much more comfortable using Kirk than I am Griot. And Griot is the 3rd most projected owned player, approaching 19%. I like Kirk quite a bit. Birdies are better, could be an issue, especially when it's easy. But Griot, I mean, that putter can go bulky at any time. It's gotten a whole lot better as of late. 7th in irons. Premier ball striker, especially for this field. Again, like I was saying with Adam Hadwin, I don't like the ownership. The player's fine. I don't like the ownership. So I'll go with Chris Kirk of those two. The bottom 2 in the 9Ks I'm going to use, especially Seamus Power. Anytime a course is easy, you think about Seamus Power. Number 4, birdies are better when it's easy. He just enjoys birdie fests. He's not played well in 2023, relatively speaking, especially to 2022, but he's not this bad with the irons. He really isn't. He's fine on bent. Par 4s have been okay. They're decent. He's just a better iron player than what he has shown in 2023. 7%, and again, I'm going on the narrative and the belief that this is just going to be very easy. He loves easy tournaments. So I'll be firing up a lot of Seamus Power. You can see where a lot of my ownership or where my lineups are going. I'm going to have a whole lot of Taylor Moore. I'm going to have a whole lot of Seamus Power. And don't sleep on JT Poston. I know he was very disappointing last week at another very easy tournament that he performed well at. He is the defending champion. He's another one of those players that when it's easy, you really think about JT Poston. Top 10 in birdies or better when it's easy. Top 40, top 35 off the tee when it's easy. Just like Seamus Power, the par 5s haven't been good. Even Poston's irons have been a little bit better than Seamus Power's. And Poston is very darn good on bent. So don't ignore JT Poston, especially at 4.5%. I mean, you compare that to somebody like Schenk, who I know Schenk's in great form and Poston is in not as good form, obviously, and that's 25% of the ownership. I mean, you're getting 4 times the uniqueness off of JT Poston on the defending champion who loves easy courses. I can see myself using some Poston, but I'll be more leaning on Seamus Power. All right, moving to the 8s. I've been rambling for quite a while. We still have some lineups to make, so I'm going to try to move along through this. Some highlights here. Look, Alex Smalley, I really, really like. I don't like the ownership, but I mean, I've used chalk on Henley. I'm probably going to use a little bit of Schenk. I mean, I got to draw the line somewhere, but man, Smalley should be pretty good this week. Taylor Montgomery, take a long look at. Taylor Montgomery is somebody I keyed in on very, very early this week, all around the fact that it's easy. When he was making a lot of noise early on in the PGA Tour season in the fall, the majority of those events are easy. He's a really, really good putter. And you see his drawback, the irons and the ball striking, he's actually been pretty good off the tee when it's easy. He is number 3. Birdies are better when it's easy. Now, the irons have been bad. But, again, on an easy tournament, I'm going to believe much more in Taylor Montgomery. So, I really like this ownership here. It's a play on the uniqueness and the upside with the putter. Because he's a very good putter. Don't be surprised by Taylor Montgomery if he plays well. Rogers always seemingly rates out better than what I think he should in my rankings. A lot of these things really like him. His irons have been suspect in 2023. Good drives gained also 119, so not good. I've been burned enough by Rogers. There's a little bit of scar tissue there. So if you're not concerned about it, the metrics say it's a really good play, especially at 8%. Nick Taylor is somebody I'm off of. This is going to be close. I can't say full fade because I haven't made my lineups yet. But this is going to be close to a full fade. He's not good off the tee. And with it being easy, I have my concerns. I'm also concerned with a little bit of the hangover on the Canadian Open. He doesn't go as low when it's easy. The par 5s are fantastic. The par 4s of the length here are fantastic. So if this is chalk you're willing to eat, I understand it. I am concerned with his off the tee. So he's one of them that I'll plant a flag on and lose if it plays well. I want to like Kuchar, but man, he's in no form. He's in absolutely no form. You see, he really likes easier courses as well, just like Poston, just like Power. The par 4 lengths are really bad, but he's number 1 at the par 5 lengths. Historically, you would think Kuchar fits TPC Deere run pretty well, but he hasn't played it in the past 5 years, so I want to like him. But I've already said that I'm going to be using a few players, so I don't know if I'll get down as far as Matt Kuchar. Doug Gim, look, if you think the putter's going to stay, fine. But it's all about the putter for Doug Gim. If you think it stays hot, ride it. I don't know if I can. Moving into the upper 7s, a few players I want to highlight for you all. Ryan Palmer. And I mentioned him last week at the Rocket Mortgage. Look, this guy is one of the best players in rounds that are easy. Number 3 and number 1 off the tee and birdies are better. And look, not even when it's easy, just purely strokes gained approach in this calendar year. For this field, he's number 3. His irons have been very, very good this year. Quietly, very, very good this year. Where he struggled is here. And we've said that about 4 or 5 guys seemingly already. So take a long look at Ryan Palmer around this, easy to par narrative and belief that I have. If you think it's going to play tougher than I do, then you're obviously going to want to be much lower on Ryan Palmer. But I don't see any reason why it's going to be difficult this week or play to average. I think it's going to be easy. I'm going to want some Ryan Palmer. Ches Reavie, no thanks. Is another player I'm willing to fade. I think he comes back down to earth at some point. I think this might be the week. Man, that's a lot of percentage on Dylan Wu, but somebody I really like this week. I like the player a lot. I do not like the ownership, so I've said that about a few guys as well. Moving into the low 7s. Look, I know it's ridiculous to see a number 1 by the analytics here and 3rd in my rankings, but man, he's just played very, very well lately. The past 2 months, he's got a top 15 and a top 5. And what is the similarity between the John Deere, the Rocket Mortgage, and the Byron Nelson? They're all easy. Byron Nelson's one of the easiest tournaments on tour. Rocket Mortgage is one of the easiest tournaments on tour. Top 15, the Byron Nelson. Top 5, the Rocket Mortgage. I think the John Deere is going to suit Peter Quest pretty well as well. So I wouldn't go overboard with it, but, you know, don't overthink it. He's just played easy courses well in his small sample size. So don't overthink it. I like S.H. Kim as well. I like Sam Stevens, not as much as S.H. Kim. I like both of these players. I actually like S.H. Kim a little bit more. The fact that he has shown that he can go low when it's a birdie fest, whereas Sam Stevens has kind of struggled in that regard. Where Sam Stevens makes it up for his downfall and the birdies are better is in the irons. Sam Stevens' irons have been much, much better than S.H. Kim's. But I do like both players this week. Clearly for both players, just like it seemingly everybody else. It's about the putter. Adams Vincent, also take a long look at. Now, his win at the RSM might start to seem like it is an outlier or, you know, just a good week. I have to believe he's better than what he has shown. So I kind of like Adams Vincent this week. Again, I wouldn't go crazy about it. Let's see. Carson Young, Lucas Glover, they're getting a lot of attention. Sure, I guess. Maybe. Not crazy about it. Zach Johnson loves the John Deere. Now, historical course performance hasn't really mattered, especially lately for champions and players that play well. Like last year, JT Poston wins the John Deere. He had missed the cut the previous 2 John Deeres he had played in. As recently as 2019, Dylan Fratelli wins. He had never played the course before. Course history and prior course performance isn't a big deal at TPC Deere Run, but Zach Johnson continuously, year after year, has just shown he loves playing the John Deere. So take a look at Zach Johnson. If no other reason than that, I mean, he's just historically played this event very, very well. Yeah, that's really what I have in the 7Ks for you all. If you're as high on the off the tee and ball striking as I am, perhaps take a look at Garrick Higgo, especially for the off the tee. Look, he's got a lot of bad metrics. The irons haven't been good. Par 5s haven't been good. He's okay if you stretch it, maybe, on bent. Playing Garrick Higgo is all about the off the tee. Bhatia, we talked about a little bit in my reveal of the top 10. I don't hate it, but I'm not in love with it. All right, normally I have a few players in the 6Ks that I want to mention to you all. Tonight, I really only have a couple, and they're stretches at that. I really don't like the 6Ks this week. First one I'll mention, he's getting a lot of love. Grayson Sigg always loves an easy tournament. His irons have been pretty good lately. It's a worthy look, but he's pretty damn chalky for a 6K, so be aware of that. Another player to think about would be at 64, or maybe it was 6,300. Where do you go? There he is, 6,400. Take a look at Tyler Duncan. This is the one 6K play that I'm going to be gravitating towards, especially in my Stars and Scrubs lineups. Top 20 off the tee when it's easy. He goes low, very low on birdie fests. You see, 61st is one of his worst statistics. The irons have been good. Par 5s have been good at the length. He's got one bad thing, and like 8,000 others in this field, about the putter. But he hits plenty of fairways and or greens in regulation. for a 6K at 6,400, a low 6K. Take a look at Tyler Duncan, especially if you're in a stars and scrubs type lineup. He is where I'm gravitating towards in that regard. So there's a look at the price board where how Fantasy National sees the ownerships and what the members are doing in their lineups, and some potential pivots and fades off of that. We're going to start making some lineups. We'll start with tiers. So get your questions ready, put them into chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer them as we start making some lineups and some ideas for roster constructions for the John Deere. So for those who play tiers contests, Tier 1, you have Denny McCarthy, Russell Henley, and Ludwig Aberg. To me, it's between these two players. I think I'm going to have to go with Russell Henley, but man, if Ludwig Aberg is indeed as unique as what he seems to be, that's really tough to pass up. But I'm going to go with Russell Henley. I'm just pretty confident that he's going to play very, very well. Tier 2, Cameron Young, Adam Hadwin, Eric Cole, Keith Mitchell, and Taylor Moore. That's tough. Again, another tier that's a two-man tier for me. Cameron Young and Taylor Moore, they are roughly the same ownership, so I'll go with Taylor Moore. However, if you went with Henley like I did, and you are concerned a little bit about uniqueness and duplicating lineups, you might consider Cameron Young, but I'll start this tier's lineup going Henley, Taylor Moore. Tier 3, Adam Schenk, Chris Kirk, Emiliano Grillo, Seamus Power, and Alex Smalley. Well, I just mentioned that I was a little bit worried about ownerships. I don't see any reason why Seamus Power won't play well this week. He might not be the top player in this tier, but at the ownership discount that you're getting from Power off of Schenk, that's 3 times as unique. He's twice as unique as Chris Kirk, 3 times as unique as Grillo, 2.5 times unique as Alex Smalley. Give me Seamus Power in tier 3. I'll just take the uniqueness and someone that I do think will play well this week. If you're not concerned with ownership, I think the play would be Chris Kirk. Really, all 5 in this tier are really solid options. So in this tier, I'll go Seamus Power, especially for the uniqueness. If you're not concerned about uniqueness, then I'll go Chris Kirk. Probably go Smalley 3rd. Grillo 4th and Schenk 5th, and I like Schenk. So, again, just a solid tier. Tier 4, JT Poston, Stefan Yeager, Ben On, Sepp Straka, Christian Bezaydnut, Taylor Montgomery, and Nick Taylor. Oh boy. I might go Taylor Montgomery and just kind of go really unique. Hope that the tiers lineup is the only one of its exact construction. Try to hit the home run. I can envision this is the home run play. Taylor Montgomery to me has a very high ceiling and he has a very low floor. But I will play the all or nothing play in Taylor Montgomery. The other option, JT Poston's a lot of the same in my eyes. I just think Taylor Montgomery's going to play well, better than Poston. Yeager's a solid choice, but you see how popular he's going to be. So, Bezaydnut's kind of interesting, I suppose, as well. But give me Taylor Montgomery. I'll just try to hit the home run. Tier 5, Patrick Rogers, Matt Kuchar, Doug Gim, K.H. Lee, Ryan Palmer, Mark Hubbard, and Ches Reavie. Rogers is going to be the best analytically. Ryan Palmer should be really good this week. I like Ryan Palmer quite a bit. K.H. Lee could be interesting as well. considering he's a 2-time winner of the Byron Nelson, another very easy tournament. I'll go Ryan Palmer only because I have enough scar tissue from Patrick Rogers. If you don't have that scar tissue, it's probably Patrick Rogers. But I'll go Ryan Palmer. And then finally, Tier 6. Probably have to move out of the way. Tier 6, we have Kevin Streelman, Patton Kazire, Garrick Higo, Chesson Hadley, Zach Johnson, Cameron Champ, and Sam Ryder. Blech. Ugh. Don't really like anything in here. I've already taken one all or nothing play in Taylor Montgomery. I don't know if I'd be willing to do it again with Higo, but Higo is your all or nothing play. Instead, I might go Zach Johnson, just somebody who just generally plays the John Deere well. I have confidence that he'll at least make the cut. Famous last words, but I have confidence he'll make the cut. And then on the weekend, we'll see. But I'll probably go Zach Johnson in Tier 6. All right, there's a look at Tiers lineups. Let's start building some classic lineups. We'll start by generating what seems to be the most popular lineups and see how we can maneuver around them. So, our fellow contestants, if we're going to try to build the chalkiest lineup we can, they're going to be starting Russell Henley, and he's 2% more projected owned than Denny McCarthy per Fantasy National. So we're going to start with Russell Henley. I'm going to go to Adam Schenk. This very well could be Eric Cole as well, but we'll go Henley, Schenk. I imagine Griot is a bit too expensive to try to fit. So instead, we'll drop to Doug Gim at 8,000 even. Leaves our fellow contestants about 7,400 per player. You got two players down in the low sevens who are garnering a lot of attention. You got Lucas Glover and Carson Young. We'll bottom this team out there and see where we are left. 77, Mark Hubbard, Ches Reavie. Perfect. This is probably going to be a very, very common lineup among your big GPPs. Russell Henley, a play that I'm not going to be able to get away from. I talked about how I think Reavie comes back down to earth at some point. Adam Schenk's been very, very good form, so I understand it. But I think I have some other players in and around his price that we can move to. Doug Gim, it's all about the putter, but we've said that about a lot of players. So this is probably a very, very common lineup this week for the John Deere in your big GPPs. That looked a bit, I'd say, balanced-ish. If our fellow contestants are going stars and scrubs, I'm going to go to Grayson Sigg. I believe he's the most popular 6K at 9%. I know there was somebody that was also garnering some attention. Looks like he might have dropped. I think Kadira, 7%. Yeah. So we'll bottom this team out at Grayson Sigg. This is one where, just in the interest of using different names, we'll use McCarthy. This obviously could be Russell Henley. We'll go McCarthy. We'll go Griot. We'll go Yeager. Gosh dang it, I can't type. And again, we're at this 7,250 per. It's Carson Young and Lucas Glover. This is leaving $100 on the table. Not as popular, or at least projected popular, just due to the fact that they're dropping down to a 9% Grayson Sigg. But 9% on a 6K is pretty darn chalky. The top three, interchange how you will. Maybe Russell Henley, Adam Schenk, Chris Kirk. Again, just trying to use some different names here. But generally speaking, at the bottom end of the lineups, you're looking at Carson Young, looking at Lucas Glover, perhaps some Callum Tarrant in here. That is where our fellow contestants are bottoming out on their teams. So there's a look at two pretty chalky teams, one seemingly balanced and this one was an attempt at being more stars and scrubs. It didn't end up that way just due to pricing, but two pretty high ownership lineups. So if we're going to try to maneuver around that chalk, first way we can do so, let's say we want to do a stars and scrubs. Look, I have to think he's going to be more popular than 9.2%, but Aberg's been on fire. He's been the talk of the PGA Tour. My goodness, last I saw he was 30-1 to win this week. So one of the tournament favorites. Don't understand why he's so projected low ownership. You can think about using Cameron Young in this lineup as well, going double 10K. Instead, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Taylor Moore, as he is the number one player in my rankings. I think he's going to play really darn well this week. And instead, I'm going to load up on the nines. I'll go Taylor Moore. I'll go Seamus Power. And to get my price savings, I mentioned in the 6Ks, I'm comfortable going down to Tyler Duncan at 6,400. I'm really only comfortable doing it in the traditional stars and scrubs type of lineup. But if I'm doing that, then I think he's a worthwhile inclusion. And then 7,500, we can fill this in however we want. We can go 8,000, 7,000, or however else you see fit. I've talked about Ryan Palmer at 7,800, who should be very, very good this week. We're at, sub 7%. You can take a chalky player right now. If you're really high on Lucas Glover, you can take him. You can take a Carson Young, and it's not going to kill your ownership. You're still sub 9%. You're more than likely looking at a unique lineup here, even with the chalky play. But if you want to try to stay extremely unique, I talked Adams Vincent could be a decent play. Akshay Bhatia, 7,100. Higo's a bit, all or nothing. I don't know if I'd go there, at least in this lineup, especially with Tyler Duncan. Zach Johnson would be somebody else I could envision throwing in a lineup like this for the safety net. As I said, famous last words, I'm pretty confident he'll make the cut. And then whatever he does on the weekend, you hope that he plays fairly well. But a very unique lineup, stars and scrubs here, which you're getting one of the tournament favorites. Taylor Moore is in arguably the best form of any of these players leading up to the John Deere. Seamus Power, he has not played well lately, but he is the number one strokes gained total player in rounds that are easy in the past 18 months. The John Deere is going to be easy. Ryan Palmer, much the same, loves easy tournaments. So this is a stars and scrubs lineup that I can envision myself submitting. Otherwise, we can perhaps move around a balanced look. We can, I would probably start this team at Taylor Moore, but let's go Chris Kirk and start a balanced lineup where perhaps we maneuver through the 8Ks a little bit and try to find some uniqueness in the 8Ks. I mentioned Taylor Montgomery. Again, has played very, very well on easy tournaments. The putter is extremely good at a course that rewards putting. I like Taylor Montgomery quite a bit. You can take a look at Patrick Rogers. I've got scar tissue, but he's pretty damn unique, all things considered. Matt Kuchar has played easy events well. Again, might be a Ryan Palmer lineup. Don't know if I'm there with Ches Reavie, but Mark Hubbard could be someone to gravitate towards as well. Bo Hostler we didn't really talk about. Dylan Wu. I mean, honestly, I would probably bottom this team out at Peter Quest. Throw him in this lineup. We've still got 8,300 per player. We don't even have to come down very far. I didn't realize I was saving as much money as I was. We used Palmer already. Rogers, Hubbard. Feel free to jump in chat with any questions that you all have. I'm just kind of spitballing here with you. Perhaps Taylor Montgomery is our third price player. We'll go Chris Kirk, and if you like Grillo, Alex Smalley. Probably some chalk I won't be able to get away from, like Alex Smalley this week. Now we're sitting in this 8,000 range. Doug Gim makes a lot of sense. K.H. Lee could be somebody to think about as well. So I'll wrap this up with, I'll go Kuchar and K.H. Lee. You are looking at another sub 9% lineup using Chris Kirk and Alex Smalley. Again, two players that are favorites for the tournament. Taylor Montgomery, all-world putter, and he plays easy events well. Kuchar, a bit speculative. He's not in the best of forms, but historically has played easy events well. K.H. Lee it's like the Byron Nelson, another easy tournament. And Peter Quest is in great form. So there's a look at a couple of different ways you can maneuver around a lot of this chalk. I want to thank P and Steven and Joey and Bruce for jumping in chat. Very, very appreciative of the interaction. Thanks for tuning in. And thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting, subscribing. I love what I do, and I appreciate you all tuning in show after show, week after week, good weeks and bad. And there's been, this is your first research of the week. Nice. But show after show, week after week, through the good tournaments and the bad. And there have been quite a few bad tournaments lately, but you all come back, and I'm very appreciative of that. So again, hopefully you have considered giving Gabe a follow and subscribing to his article. I'm going to continue DFS talk over there. Thanks for all the support, for all the wagers you have made this week for the John Deere Classic, for all the DFS contests you've entered this week for the John Deere Classic, for this weekend and every weekend. May all your bets be profitable.